Okay, we are
Recording now.
recording. Perfect. So before we start, I would like to check in with you, and can you tell me how have you been? How was your week? And then we get to the questions. I would like to just check in with you first, and then we take it from there. So who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first. I've been okay, you know. Are you okay, Sylvia?
I'm okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I've been okay. I mean, I'm newly retired, so I'm trying to figure all that out as well. But it was thinking back about how we talked about how our childhood trauma would maybe be leading something in our lives, and just reflecting back about, really, for a lot of my life I was just an open wound, and didn't realize that it could have been an adult that would have handled that situation better. So really reflecting back on that, that was very insightful for me, in that sense of saying, one second, let me go back. Your adult can deal with this, that you have an adult that can deal with things, but realizing just what an open childhood trauma wound I've been going through life, and that's just a fact. And that's a fact, just realizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of inner feelings and reflection. Okay. And did you get to listen to an
and feeling sad about it, but realizing it, it's a realization for me.
Yeah. Sadness can be very healthy and healing emotion. It can be. So, okay. And did you get to listen to any other to the other modules? What
I'm up to date. I'm up to date. Module 3. Yeah.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And thank you, Colleen. So, Sandy, how about you?
Yeah, interesting week. I suppose doing the workbook and listening to the modules, I had to put it down at one stage because it was just overload.
I know.
My brain just couldn't take it. And then I suppose that's really good. It's really interesting. I loved it. Great exercises, all those statements you had and writing about that as a child, and then how I'm playing it out in my adult life, which is really mad. It's a great awareness. Now, I did have an experience, again, really interesting experience, with my principal, my famous principal, right? Last week, there was basically, I had to send off something to another organization for support, and it wouldn't work for me. So I had to use my own email address. Again, it's lack of communication, which is bizarre, right? But anyway, she came into my class at the end of the day and she called me a wrecker, because she couldn't access it. And I kind of, I realize I'm one of these people. It takes me a while to process stuff. I can't act off the mark. I just can't.
Yeah.
I'm so stunned at people's reactions, how they would even behave in that way. But anyway, about 10 minutes later, when I was on my own, she said it to me again. And I was like, I was really pissed off. And I knew I didn't react. But that evening, I was so angry, honestly. And I realized, and I said, thank you, that I knew it was the child triggered in me, because I was always given out to as a child. I was always wrong. And here this woman was doing the same thing to me. And I thought, okay, I got to deal with this as an adult. So the next morning, because she said it in front of people before, so I said, next morning she came out And I said, in front of the other teacher, I said, oh, I said, guess what? I said, she called me a wrecker yesterday. I said, can you believe that? A wrecker, I said, if you don't mind, you know, I'm not a wrecker, I
You've
said.
lost you, Sandy.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
So
Wait,
I,
are you-
so
Yeah.
I spoke from an adult more so
Yeah,
than the
great.
child, and that was big for me. And to even realize that like I realized the woman, she actually triggers me so much. It's scary. And I have to look at this woman every day. So obviously there's a huge lesson and learning and healing.
Yeah.
That little girl, nobody's going to treat her like shit anymore. You know, it's like,
Look, say that again, please. And I really want you to own it.
yeah, basically nobody's going to treat that little girl like shit anymore. I just decided I'm not doing it. I can't. I'm not able. But I suppose I'm so shocked. My body, I just go into shock. I just freeze. I actually freeze on the spot. I can't believe it. And then, as I said, I sat with it. I sat with it all evening. And I'm so angry. I'm so angry. It was unbelievable that emotion came up.
Mhm.
It was interesting with you, Colin, the sadness, but with me, it was the anger.
Yeah.
And how common is anger for you? Like, let's say if someone was hurting you, would you get anger, or would you, is that a new emotion in a way?
It's quite interesting because I realize, I suppose, I like to protect people, stand up for people, if that makes sense. So I will bring that voice out. Now, I would have grown up in a very angry household. So sometimes I have to catch myself because I'm aware that pattern can come in quite easily. You know, I have to really catch my thoughts and work on my thoughts because it's challenging, you know?
So
Now,
in the way
I work through it.
Okay, sorry. So in the way anger isn't alien emotion, like you're okay with anger.
I suppose, you know what? Yeah, it was okay. I suppose, again, it was feeling, it came back to being not good enough, you know? Not enough. That's really what the bottom line was, that I didn't feel worthy, or, you know, just,
But from
yeah, just that really. So it's interesting with the anger, why
you feel anger rather than sadness or shut down because there is already an aspect that you want to protect. Anger is a very strong emotion, and it helps us being angry, helps us have the strength to protect ourselves. When you're angry, it push other people away. It's almost like setting a boundary.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you talk about this because I planned to talk about boundaries today. That's actually amazing.
That's great, because can I tell you, it's something I even listened to a podcast last night because I feel I was never taught boundaries, you know, and I think it's really important.
We all don't know boundaries, but I think really in a way, say, coming from me, my point is, you went home and you got angry about it. So you had those emotions, but then you realized, oh, I can deal about this as an adult, and you went back in and cleared it up. It's unfortunate that we have to have those emotions, but sometimes when you're wounded, you could have stood in that moment and, fought your battle, but it wouldn't have been the best way to do it. It would have come from, so, while you had to go home and deal with that anger, I still think you did it the right way. It's not, you weren't stuffing down your emotions. You weren't, like you say, you don't react on the spot. And that's probably not a bad thing, I think. She can say it to you so easily, but your rebuttal doesn't come back so easily because you think about it afterwards. And I think that's good in a way.
And it was lovely to be in the car and the little girl was safe, you know, because I was out of the space and I could feel that feeling
Sandy, mm,
in my
yes.
body
Do you
and
feel
process
Yeah.
it.
so name that feeling. What was the feeling
The feeling when she was in the car,
with you?
I felt I felt I felt safe then, if that made sense. You know, I was able to process it and understand it. And it wasn't my fault, if that made sense, you know?
Mhm.
And it was okay. But the interesting thing was I that night I thought, right, am I going to go in there tomorrow? And am I going to say something to her, you know, as an adult?
Yeah.
And I was a little bit nervous because the little child is coming back in again, the fear of, you know, what's she
Yeah.
going to say to me?
Would be so easy
And
to say something.
very hard. I'm telling you, I feel on my guard the whole time around this woman. It's bizarre.
Having your
Yeah.
guard up now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. You might actually need it, especially if she's so if she keep crossing your boundaries. Sometimes you put in your own barrier, like not to let her in, so your guard up, but that is really exhausting. It is to
Yeah.
have you to always be careful what to say, like always be on ready for the attack. So that
Yeah.
is when having your guard up is one thing, but when you're in the survival and waiting to get attacked, that is not
I know.
And
okay.
that's very much Sylvia and my little girl that she did all my life in my house, in my family home. That's what it was like every evening, because I was always slapped and I was always sent to bed. I always had to leave the dinner table. So it was quite normal. So it's really interesting to be in this situation with this woman, because I feel it all the time,
So
you know.
And can I just go jump in there? But I've been in those situations. The last job that I had, and you've just said it so perfectly, that it's exhausting being in survival mode, waiting to be attacked. That was my last job, where it was just I didn't know what was going to be happening. I mean, I got the union involved and stuff like that. But I forget what I was going to say there. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought. All right, never mind. It might come to me again, but it was something to do with being exhausted. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, fine. So Cindy, how or what? No, when you came back the next day and you said in front of the teacher, no, you said to the teacher in front of that woman. Can you imagine? She called me that. So
Yeah.
did the principal? She heard it, did she?
Oh yeah, yeah. And because I said to her, I said, I'm actually very sensitive. I said, that's, to be called a wrecker. I said, that's not very nice. I'm a very sensitive person, And she went and she smiled and she went, you sensitive? And I went, yeah, I am actually. Yeah, she's a total B. But look, I felt I had to address it, but I feel that's it now. Look, I needed to say what I had to say as an adult, protecting my little girl.
Good.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So how did you feel? Sorry, Colin, but just staying with Sandy. Sandy, how did you feel when you said that to that principal? How did it feel inside?
How did it feel inside? I felt quite empowered, to be honest. I wasn't scared, because I was scared the night before thinking about it. But saying it, I felt a sense of relief, that I was very much telling myself, I'm the adult here. This is an adult to adult. And that's something I really would love to work on. How to parent the adults.
How to parent the child. Yeah, that's good.
You know,
Good.
I really
Very good.
feel that's to know what tools to use and how to use them. That's really for me.
You already done that. Do you
I
realize?
did. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. And you know what? I was very proud, and I am very proud of myself because that was big.
It
Because
was
I did-
huge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was really interesting to be put in that situation. Wow, talk about putting it to practice. You know,
Very good.
week one.
Good. Good.
Yeah, long may it last. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But the more you will stand up for yourself, the easier it will get. The more both of you will listening to your own inner child. So basically, when you're listening to your own emotions, if you get angry, if you get hurt, if you get, you know, if you feel like you're pulling aside or like you're shy away, just ask yourself, why am I doing this? So why am I feeling sad? Why am I getting angry? And so it's like you're going to have a conversation with your inner child. Okay, like what's going on, darling? They're like, tell me. And you will have the answers immediately.
Yeah.
So that's the first key. If you know, talking about reparenting your own inner child, the biggest key is to listening
Yeah.
to your own self. But sometimes that is very
Yeah.
difficult because, as you know from the modules, trauma happens to our body. So our body has
Yeah.
all the records of trauma. So when I ask you, oh, but you listen to your body and you need to connect with it, there is part of you that's like, oh my God, well, you know, how can I really connect and that's how so many of us can actually feel fear when it comes to our emotions.
Yeah.
By the minute we stop being afraid of our emotions, but instead listening to them as and treat them like a message, it's a game changer for us.
Yeah.
Because that means we can listen and we're no longer afraid of ourselves, our inner children, and our own emotions. So that is like reconnecting. And when you have the answer of why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling angry? Then the mother in you can come in and ask, okay, so what would I need to comfort? What do I need to make my inner child feel safer? So for Sandy, it was setting the boundary, coming back the next day and tell that woman, look, like I'm very sensitive, like don't talk to me like this. So that was the boundary. Pauline, for you, when you felt sad, how did you comfort yourself? You reflected.
Well,
so you had that, you know, conversation. What did you do to comfort yourself?
well, I'm only just learning how to do this, you know. Before I would just try and say if it happened, I'd wake up and feel blue or anxious, rather I'd get up, I'd move and stuff like that. But now I rub my belly and I say, you know, it's okay, everything is okay, you know. We don't need to feel this way anymore. And you know that I'm doing that thing, and I've also done those other ones where I forget what she's called, Sylvia, but where you know you sit on a couch and she brings you down the steps and you meet your inner child and you hug her. I've done those sort of things.
So,
you know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely, yes. So that's
Yeah.
it. Like, you are doing this stuff. So
Yeah.
even when
Oh
there's
no, I mean I am trying to talk to No, I'm trying to talk to myself nicely, do you know? But and we've talked about this a lot of sadness in the past. I'm just learning this stuff, and you know, I wished I'd have known it years ago. But what I'm learning now makes sense of why I acted the way I did years ago, or you know, why I could be at B2, because it was a wounded child getting hurt again, and there was nobody to stick up for me, so I had to stick up for myself. Do you know? And that came out rather than taking it and having the adult come back in and sort out the situation. You know, I've realised that. So,
So you
Yeah.
see, even though at the beginning with my question you felt uncomfortable, oh, I'm only learning.
yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm only learning, honestly. I mean, it's been about less than a year now for me.
But look what you're doing.
Oh,
You
absolutely. And
already
for
know,
me,
and you already know the tools, and you have the tools, and you're using them. That's what matters.
I feel
So-
so much better, honestly.
So
You know, I feel
well
so much
done.
better.
So
Yeah.
don't doubt yourself. Oh, I don't know. I'm only learning. No. This is you knowing that
Yeah.
I was sad. Even that awareness, I was sad. You didn't run away from that sadness. You didn't try
Yeah.
to mask that sadness.
No. No. Oh, it was for me, it's in the stomach, anxiety. You know, everybody has their trigger points, people, you know, and
Absolutely.
oh God, I could be in turmoil, you know, driving to jobs and it's almost jumping out, you know.
Mm-hmm. What do you have hot water bottles?
Yeah,
Use them and
I
place
should.
them.
Yeah.
Place them
Got
on
no
your-
heat at the moment, so sitting blanket.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that.
that itself is a lovely comfort. You know, even going to bed with hot water bottle and make it a habit. Something warm, something cozy. You know, you
Yeah.
just hug and it's immediately warm. That's
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's about being nice to yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you, thank you so much for both of you for sharing your stuff. Do you have any questions before we go to the boundaries? I would like to hear if you, as I said, you are my priority. So if you have any questions, that always goes first. About the modules or about, you know, the questions or anything. I actually have the questions here. I'm just gonna pull them out so I know.
Yeah.
No,
I don't.
Page 5, and that was it, and I stopped.
Yeah.
You're at page 5.
And-
Okay.
And there's times, little bits sometimes, Sandy, that I haven't even filled in because I just, you know, think I'm going to have to come back and do it. So exactly, you know, you've got, sometimes it's, you know, you can only do a small bit.
Yeah,
Then
exhausting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's too much and I don't want it to become something that I'm procrastinating in doing. Do you know, I'm trying to not, I'm trying to say, you know, 20 minutes because it'll be good for you instead of saying, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow. So I'm trying to work that a little bit, you know, but I don't work, so I've got a lot of free time Sunday.
So on exercise 4, did you get to finish it all or you just did the 5th page?
Of all the questions, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I finished it all. I finished
All
all
the
that.
statements.
Yeah,
I
they were
didn't-
very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's as far as I got. Yeah, I stopped after that.
That's great. Okay. So you said, you know, sometimes you had to stop. So what was overwhelming you? What do you think have caused that you needed to pull back? Was it your own stuff that a lot was starting to come out for you? Like was it your
Yeah.
subconscious, or was it like this is too much? Like what was
I mean,
happening?
sometimes for me, Sylvia, it was not knowing how I felt. Yeah, it's too much, you know. How do you feel now? You know, I just didn't know how I felt, you know. And so some of that, then, well, just some of it, like look at the images below and see what you see. You know, I came back and did this after the fact. You know, some of it I could fill out because I was ready to. Others, I had to think a little more on it because I wasn't really sure what I was feeling.
Okay.
So I would come back to it. You know, and I have this thing, and maybe it's the thing in you, there's all those lines, so I feel obliged to fill in all the lines. And then I'm like, you can just write one or two statements, you know, I'm trying to fill it all in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to fill everything on, you don't.
Yeah.
Exercise 5 now. So
Yeah.
I would suggest you would go back to the very last module, which is our bonus module on emotions. So
Bonus module,
before
right.
you do, before you do the exercise 5, do the
Right.
module on emotions. That will help you hugely
Okay.
doing that exercise.
Okay.
Okay. New module. And what number is that module?
I think it's very last, and it says bonus module on emotions. I think it's actually signed up. Let me
Okay.
just check and I let you know.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine, Sylvia. I can look it up. I think I've got it. Oh, where do I have my other?
It's after, so it's like you have module 14 and then there's bonus emotions. So that
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have summary. That's very last
Yeah.
thing to listen. So exercise number 14. So that is just, for this exercise. So that's number 5.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I found exercise 4 was considering there was 95 different scenarios, it was scary to actually circle and write about a lot of them. I was like, oh my God. It's
I
like,
know. I feel
really?
like, hey, I've got
Jesus
everything.
Christ.
Everything.
It was,
oh my God, my inner child went through a lot.
I know, honestly, it's scary when you put it on paper, isn't it? Because to think of the body has stored all this information and carried it up to now.
Yes. Absolutely. So even that, how empowering that is. It's sad. It needs,
Yeah.
in a way, it's good, it's sad, because that means you can find compassion towards yourself. That's another why sadness is good, because when we feel sad for our story, for what we have experienced, that means we can find compassion. When we can find compassion towards ourselves, there is self-love.
Yeah.
And how many of us are believing that self-love is so difficult, that it's so hard? But when we feel sad, when we look back for our story, like on our story, it's like, oh my God, like how did I even survive that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is self-compassion. When you were listening to the modules, like Sandy, how many modules did you listen to?
I got up to 5 and I found 5, so it was it overloaded my brain. I just couldn't. I'll actually have to go back again and re-listen, because I what I was doing was sometimes I was getting into bed and listening to it, which wasn't very good for me personally. I'm better off staying up and sitting up and listening in a different space.
Yeah.
Because I didn't sleep well that night, Yeah, that wasn't a good idea. But look.
Okay. This is not just before lecture. Like that. This is not.
No.
Oh, I think I should actually say that to you at the very beginning. I don't recommend this doing it before bed.
Yeah.
Because it's heavy loaded, and when you're in it just before you bed, remember when we falling asleep or when we're going to bed, the frequency of the brain is changing. During the day, you're operating on the frequency of beta, so it's very much like you're conscious. You're very much doing everything you need to be aware of. So your brain is working differently. It's faster. When we come into the evening time and we know, our body knows it's nearly bedtime, the frequency slows down and goes to alpha, which is very much the frequency
Yeah.
of subconscious mind. So that moment, your consciousness is less active. Your subconscious is it's more accessible. So when you're listening to those heavy stuff, inner child is part of your subconscious. Your brain is like, okay, she commands me to work on her trauma. Let's do it all night long.
Let's bring it in.
Because when we sleep, our consciousness sleep. Subconscious mind never sleeps. So when you feed your mind with this,
Yeah.
it's a lot. And you
Yeah.
wake up like you never slept. Like, oh my God, like, is that night over?
Yeah, that's why I stopped. I did it at the beginning. I stopped the end of the week. I just thought, no,
Yeah.
I need to just step back. And yeah, it was good. And actually, it was really interesting. I have to share this with you before you, sorry now.
Yeah.
This was mad now what came up for me, right? It's amazing the stuff that does come up, right? When I was going back, God, long time ago, maybe 28 years ago, I would have been in Australia and met a lovely guy at the time, right? Lovely Englishman. And I was a young girl, and I remember him telling me he loved me. And I was the first person he ever told that to, right? And I realized I was kind of latching on to that. And even still to this day, ridiculous that I
Oh,
don't
is it?
know, because maybe, you know, as a little girl, I was never told I love you. It's something so small, but it came up, which was interesting. I don't know what that's about, but obviously my inner little girl as well, telling her that, you know, she is lovable and she's loved. But it sounds a bit off the walls, but I'm sure lots of stuff off the walls comes to the fore.
Absolutely. It needs to come up. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but let me know, so were you able to receive that he loves you or not, or you were rejecting it?
No, I was actually. It was lovely. But I suppose I felt maybe a few years later, I felt like I was stalking him, you know? It was mad maybe 20 years later. Because it was bizarre, off the walls, that I was searching for this outside of myself.
Maybe
And
this
realizing,
was, sorry.
sorry, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Now I'm like thinking, what was that about?
Was he
But
the
isn't
first?
that just a nice memory? Isn't that just a nice memory? In all of that, there's a nice memory of a man who said he loved you. Can it just be that?
Not,
Could Sylvia
it's not
be
just
that?
a memory. It can't be. When you work heavily and intensively, like both of you do right now, with this, as I said, your subconscious mind will start to reveal stuff to you that is connected. So your subconscious mind always gives you some kind of insight, something like a guidance, or sometimes it doesn't make sense. So like that. So if we would connect with the memory even and the feelings that Sandy felt when she had that memory, it was a good feeling. So I'm wondering, is it the first time, Sandy, that you actually felt that someone truly loved you?
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so now that we have a feeling, so with that memory, we have a feeling. So that means when you work on your inner child, and if your inner child was going to give you a message, what she really needs, what does she really need?
She needs to be loved.
Unconditionally. The way, that's it. So it's like she's hungry for that love.
Can I tell you something now? Wait till I tell you this now. This is really off the walls. Final thing I'm going to say, right? And I woke up the next morning, right? I looked at my phone. What was on my phone? 555.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm getting shivers as I speak to you here, and I'm not making that up. Now, how bizarre is that?
It's not. And the price, oh my God.
Yes,
The price of this is
I'm telling you, honestly, yeah, off the
I'm-
walls.
Do you know what 5 means? 555 means
I looked it up. Isn't it all about kind of
change.
moving,
I
change, transformation, isn't it?
It's a big for action. Yes, okay, I have it here. Major life changes are manifesting. So it's transformation, it's changes, it's healing. That's why I was changing the price for this,
Mhm.
and I was like, and actually, you won't believe it. You won't believe it.
I believe anything here.
I was talking to my husband, and I said, I keep changing, I keep juggling the price. It doesn't feel right. It's like, and he's like, hey, ask yourself. Like, did you ask yourself what would be the perfect price for it? I said, no, I wasn't. And that was just before we went, to sleep. That was just the conversation before we fell asleep. In the middle of night, I woke up and I was like, I have the price of 555.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
how, and then I actually changes immediately.
Yeah.
Well, not during the night, but the same day I actually changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really listening, isn't it, to ourselves, because we do have the answers, but I suppose it's with all the shit that we've carried all our life that we doubt ourselves all the time. We don't.
We don't allow them to come up. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't believe that we have the answers. Yeah, that's true.
Very good, Colin. So why? I'm going to stay on it. Why don't we believe the answers that we have?
Well, I don't. What I would say is I don't think we give ourselves space. For myself, I don't give myself the space for the answers to come because it's been in that survival mode all the time. So, just, not feeling that you have space or the luxury of space, that it's another situation that you've got to deal with, or if you're on your own, where you're going to sleep that night. But, I think I eat a lot because I've been hungry when I was younger. So when you say you're in that survival mode, there's no downtime. And then if you're in a child is leading the charge every time, and pleasantly, I do see, if I'd have seen that 555, and if I'd have had that emotion about that man saying he loved me, that would be telling me, oh, I'm on the right path, so I understand that. I guess my numbers are always 1111. I always seem to see 1111, so I look that up, but before that, what I was trying to say is like going back to that survival mode, that, it's exhausting being in it, but sometimes that's the only way you know how to be. And then a lot of times I thought, man, is this karma? Why is this happening again? I would think it was karma, and then I would go back into myself, I guess, and say, well, you've done something wrong, and here is karma showing its ugly head again. But what I deal with also is if I don't have enough negative things to think about for myself, I can think about things that I saw what was happening to my brother. I don't know if you get that, Sandy, if you were in a household and you got sent to bed, but another brother or somebody else had something awful happen to him. So I can also be in, that's exhausting, picking up those memories of other things, that I actually saw. Like I told you last week, it was like, Jesus, it's like an onion. You think you shed one layer and there's 25 more layers underneath,
It's like an onion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always more. And you see, what trauma does to us, it disconnects us from who we are. So when we start to heal, when we start to do the work, it might, at the beginning, it might feel very overwhelming. It's like never ending story. It's more and more and more and more stuff coming out. But that means only how much brave you are, how much courage and strength you have to do it all.
Yeah.
But every time you do it, remember, you do it number one for yourself, and every time you do it, you reconnecting yourself with yourself. So that's how you feel. That's how you feel the trauma. If trauma is the disconnection, with every work, you dive in deeply, and that's how you reconnect with yourself.
Yeah. Well, like you say, I mean, I don't know in what module it was. It's like, you know, you can heal yourself, but you have to be honest with yourself, you know? So I just look at them like, instead of like, you know, why am I doing this? You know, it's just like, I'm being honest with myself, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest value you can give to your own inner child as well. Because how many people in your life when you were a child were actually very honest and truthful and caring and loving towards yourself?
Yeah.
And when you're doing it now, do it with compassion.
Yeah. That's the thing. Do it with compassion, like catch yourself in the moment and
so in
love
your
yourself
mind,
at that moment and thank your inner child for getting you through it.
Colin, is very important with this. So rather than looking at the trauma and everything that you feel, rather than looking at this as, oh my God, like how many stuff I have to heal, it's like, oh my God, like look at my inner child and how much she was carrying on for me.
Yeah. Yeah. All the blows she took. Yeah.
So isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah.
That's how you reconnect. Rather than judging, oh my God, like how many stuff, like how much more stuff will come out.
Yeah.
That is judgment.
Yeah.
But when you look at like, oh my God, like what an amazing little girl. Despite of all of that, look at me today. She survived. She, she did all this amazing. She's now retiring, and like, oh my God, and we can have fun, and I finally see her.
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh no, I get it. I know. I get it. You know, be thankful for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She did the best she could.
Yep. Absolutely.
Very well, very well done to both of you. And do you have, okay, one more question, because I need to know this. I think it's more for myself. Do you find the modules overwhelming? Like, the stuff that you listen to, when I talk about trauma, and does that feel too heavy? Do you feel like it would be better if you didn't have that in the program?
I'm okay. I like it. Number 5, I found it a bit, it was heavy for me, the fear, the flight, all that, but I have to go back again. Could have been the headspace I was in. So, I need to go back and re-listen. But no, I think they're great. They're lovely. I love all the information so far. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and I would say this, I'd the same way. And I don't know, Sandy, do you sit and just listen to them, or do you sit and write notes? I think I'm listening and I'm writing notes, and then I just don't know which way to go with it, but there's a lot in them. There's a lot in them.
I just listen as I could be washing the dishes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I tend to be doing something, but something where,
I understand that, yeah.
And then I've got the camera in front of me, and I just listen. I don't take notes. No, I just listen.
I think I might just start doing that, is just listening.
Yeah.
you know, give myself that instead of, because I'm stopping and writing something down and then I'm going again. Do you know, I just don't know which is the best way to do it, but they're very informative. I mean, like they said, when we had all those things where it was 100 and something, you know, 80, 96, 98, 95 statements. Sometimes when I'm writing on the modules, it's like I can put a whole thing about, you know, symptoms of your childhood drama. I felt like I was every one of them, you know, or 80% of them. Do you get what I'm saying? But do I need to write them down? I don't know, you know.
Okay.
But no, the modules are good. The modules are good.
Okay.
The answer to the question is yes.
If, you know, if you will feel like you will need my support in between our calls, or if you have a question and you believe it's important, message me directly or message, you know, your question, you know, to our group, to
Yeah.
our WhatsApp group. I'm here. With that group, if you have the access to me
Yeah.
all of the time through this group, you message and I'm here. You know, I will, you know,
Yeah.
I will, I'm, you know, usually I'm good with replying on that,
Yeah.
on that WhatsApp group. So, you know, when you message, when I see the message, I always check it. When sometimes you might want to have conversation between each other, and that's
Mhm.
okay as well, you know? So it's just,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
about supporting each other as well. Like, I don't want you to feel like you're here by yourself. Like, you're not. You're not.
Yeah. I don't feel that way, Sylvia.
No.
So
Great.
yeah.
Okay. So about boundaries. What you have it, you have or maybe you don't. They put, I think I did, I think I do talk about boundaries, but anyway, I do want, you know, so what's your own definition of boundaries? What do you think boundaries are?
Self-protection. That's
Okay. Boundaries, self-protection. What else?
The absolute line in the sand that somebody can go with you. And maybe the line should have been a lot further up, you know, but it's the absolute last frontier of anybody coming at yourself.
Okay, so it's like a last layer almost of like, you know, before they come at you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need boundaries or not?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is boundaries something that we should be afraid of or not?
No, we shouldn't be afraid.
Understanding this, really.
Yeah.
Having a clear understanding and being in our power doing it, you know, not to be afraid of, oh my God, if I put this in place, have I upset again the people pleasing, isn't it? You know?
Absolutely. So when we put boundaries, are we putting boundaries for other people or are we putting boundaries for ourselves? What's the purpose of boundaries?
For ourselves, first and foremost, isn't it? And then others. That's my interpretation anyway.
Colleen, do you agree with Andy?
And I didn't really hear the question. I don't know if I'm doing this to you two, but you both of you keep going in and out, but I figured it's just the weather. The question again, Sylvia?
Oh, the question is, what do you think the boundaries are for? Like, who are the boundaries for?
I think for ourselves and for society as well, do you know?
You see, ladies, I want you to tap yourself on the shoulders, really. Well done.
Okay.
Boundaries are for yourself.
Yeah.
And only for yourself. when you set boundaries, that means you are communicating with others. What are you going to accept from them and what are you not? And it's not other people's responsibility to look after your boundaries, because your boundaries are for you. It's your responsibility to maintain those boundaries. Because if you won't maintain the boundaries, there's no boundaries.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
sometimes we will get angry at people when they will cross our boundaries. But when we don't communicate our boundaries, like there is no boundaries. So why, no, they can't read our mind. They're not magicians. They don't know that there were boundaries. It's different when we know boundary, we communicate it. That's our responsibility. We do it for ourselves, so our inner child can feel safe. And this is part of reparenting, because we are building the net where our inner child can feel very much safe. Does that
Okay.
mean people will always respect our boundaries?
No.
Oh no.
Absolutely. So if you have a field, I will use a metaphor. I think that's easier for us to picture the importance of the boundaries. So imagine the field, and you have just a tiny shield of no trespassing private property. And and people are walking around and they see this, and if it would be so much easier for them to just walk through that field to get where they want. It would be like a shortcut.
Yeah.
And then they will look at the signs like, oh my God, no, we should really not walk through this grass because it's trespassing. Will people do that or not? Will they listen or not?
No, they'll do that.
Exactly. So we just, maybe an angel will come and it will be, oh, maybe we shouldn't, we just go around. Or someone who doesn't like shortcuts, maybe then, okay? But usually people will cross it. When it's like a tiny little sign, oh, don't. Then we have the same field, but now we have nice fence around it and says no trespassing private property. Will people still jump over the fence and pass it through the field, or will they walk around? What are they more likely to do?
Walk around.
Absolutely. But will you find sometimes people who will want to jump the fence and go there anyway?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then third option is you have the field, you have the fence, big massive sign, do not cross. There will be consequences of, reporting. There's cameras, just extra. Which of those three scenarios is the likely that they will want to cross the boundary or cross that field?
The least likely. The third one.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, before we got to that stage of the least likely, someone had to put loads of effort to actually maintain that field.
Yes, okay.
Someone had to put so much effort to put the fence, to make the sign, to put maybe the cameras, maybe, you know, there was so much effort.
Mm.
And that is your response. If you don't want something, it's your responsibility to look after it, to put boundaries up. So how can we communicate our boundaries with someone?
One second, okay.
I suppose clear communication, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How can we, what does that mean? Clear communication.
Be honest, I suppose. It's be true to ourselves, really,
Mm-hmm.
what I want. And then see, part of me now, when I'm saying that, right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling there's stuff coming up for me when I'm saying that, right?
Good. What is it? Do you want to share? What is it?
I don't, it's just like, I suppose because I've always pleased everybody else, that I struggle with putting myself first. That's my nature. And I do struggle with boundaries. It's a big one for me. Big, big one.
Absolutely. We will, and thank you so much for sharing that. We struggle with boundaries when we are afraid that we will be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle with boundaries when we feel like people won't like us, or they will judge us, or we won't feel safe anymore. That means they will hurt us. That's the only reason why we would be afraid of putting boundaries. We would be afraid of saying no to people. Don't do this. I don't like it. This hurts me. Because in a way, when we do that, as much as it's empowering, the paradox of that is it makes us very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because it makes us very seen. We're very visible.
Mm-hmm.
We're honest. We're truthful. So boundaries goes hand to hand with being uncomfortable, with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But if you look at yourself with kindness, and when you do it with protection, so Sandy, your anger was a huge helper with being that vulnerable, because you were vulnerable. Don't make me this, don't say those things to me. I'm very sensitive. Even that statement is huge aspect of being vulnerable. Like, don't hurt me. I'm vulnerable. I'm sensitive.
I did it in a jovial way, though. It was like, it was in a fun, light-hearted way. It wasn't stern.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
you still said it.
if you didn't feel that anger, you would not be able to be that vulnerable in front of that woman.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But also that is the point. You do feel vulnerable because then you can I'm not saying you allow that person, but then that person is allowed to come back and, like she said to you, feeling hurt, you know, and I know I've done it, and where they've like, oh, boo-hoo, you know, boo-hoo on you. So that vulnerability gets kicked in the teeth by these
Hardly vulnerable, isn't it? It's very, it's so true. You're saying we're so exposed.
Yeah. You know, that, I mean, and that's it, and just to accept that, but that's still another kick sort of thing.
And why the other person will act as wants to almost attack you, you know, when you say Colleen,
Yeah.
like boo-hoo, or
Yeah.
like Sandy when she said, "Oh, you? Why
Yeah.
why
I'll
would
say-
people
yeah.
want to do that? Or when would they do it?"
Well, I would know now that it's because they're hurting themselves in their own way, that they don't have the capacity to be an adult at that moment, you know.
They
But
will, Colleen, you're actually on the right track. They will do that because they can't stand their own vulnerabilities.
yeah,
So when you look at, so when you come to them and say, "Don't do this to me, it makes me sensitive. I don't appreciate this. Like, do not speak to me like this."
yeah,
That's number one, to say that it's your strength and they feel it. But at the same time, when you say, "It makes me feel, this or that," that is you being very authentic with yourself.
yeah,
That means you're owning and you're not afraid of being your own, when it's not, you're not afraid of being vulnerable. And if that bully or that person is afraid of their own vulnerabilities, you're making them very uncomfortable, so they feel they need to attack.
yeah,
So the best way to cut it through, I know my statement might makes you feel uncomfortable, but that's
yeah.
yours.
Yeah. That's, because that is the point. They can almost get the last word in, if you get what I'm saying. And then, that's how you bring it back. And that's a good point, saying, I know that made you feel uncomfortable. It's not about getting points, but it's about bringing it back to your power, because they can dissipate it so quickly.
Absolutely. So people will trigger us, but we also will trigger people.
Yes.
People
Yes, that's
will
true.
mirror to us what we need to heal, but we will mirror to people what they need to heal. The difference is you're ready to take on this journey, they're not.
Yeah. And that is true. That is true. That is so true.
So look at your own power, how much power you actually hold inside. Protecting yourself, voicing your own needs, saying no to people, looking after your own desires or like your own emotions and allowing yourself to express it, to speak it, to be honest with yourself. That is the best way you can put boundaries.
Yeah.
But that is your responsibility to put those boundaries up. And as Sandy said, it's clear communication, always. If you want something, you say it as it is. If you don't want to say it, if you don't want something, you say it as well. Either way, say as it is. Don't expect the other person to read your mind.
You're frozen, just to let you know. Sylvia.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Both. Okay. So
No, yeah. I lost you. You said to be honest with yourself is the best way to put boundaries in. Say it as it is, and then you froze. So just go back there for a minute.
what? So it's basically I think you catched everything. So it's like when you are honest with yourself, that's how you do put, the boundaries, and that's how you owning yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People won't like it.
Yeah.
People will protest. People will be confused maybe at first. Like, what you mean, like you're saying no to me? Like, how can you say no? You always said yes.
Mm.
So just because we
Yes.
understand more,
Yeah.
just because we're doing the process, that doesn't mean other people will understand this. So people who will not like you to change, people who will like to manipulate you, people who are with you in your life, like when they are friends because they can take so much out of you, they will be in your life. But the minute you start to put boundaries and you start to heal, these are the people who will not like the way you're changing. And then eventually they will leave.
Yeah. And that has happened, that has happened.
But
And,
you're not too afraid of that. You're not to be afraid of that.
No, not to
If
be
they
afraid.
leave, they're not
Yeah.
your people, because that
Yeah.
means they can't stand you being strong. They can't stand you being, healed and empowered, because that means maybe you flag to them how weak they are. And maybe that means they can't take, manipulating you into what they want you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a tough thing to do, and you can struggle with it, but we can try to go forward every day and do a little bit, sort of thing. No.
There is, do you have Disney Plus?
Do I have?
Disney
No.
Plus?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No.
okay.
But it's a movie, is it? Were you
It
going to
is.
say?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was suggesting two movies. One
Okay.
is Coco.
Who is it?
It calls Coco.
Oh, Coco, yes.
Coco, yes. And I loved the line in there, like, don't be afraid of losing people. Be
Yeah.
afraid of losing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's from the movie Coco. I love that movie.
Wow.
The little Miguel, is like, forward, no. I can't sing, but oh, so good. And
Well,
with the other one now, I would suggest is also with On Emotions, Inside Out.
Inside Out. Okay.
Inside Out. There is a lovely way of showing how much we shouldn't fear be angry, and how much we shouldn't be afraid of feeling sad.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a huge message. And the consequence, if we will keep ignoring our emotions like sadness or anger, how it will impact our life later. I think it's a lovely way of showing us, how to connect with the emotions.
Okay.
So those two movies. I also will post link to our WhatsApp group on boundaries. I will do, I think on my YouTube, I talked about boundaries, so I'll post just, a link to use if you want to listen to it. It's not,
Great.
that's just extra, this is just extra stuff. And
It's a big one though.
yes, so it's on boundaries. I will post a link to it so you can, you can listen to it. And I will also post a 3-minute 3-minute video also from YouTube, but it's about fear. And it's Will Smith. I'm not sure if you watched it. It's William Smith or Will Smith.
Will
The
Smith.
actor. Yes.
Yeah.
And he talked about how to overcome fear. And it's funny, and it's only 3 minutes, but it's
Okay.
so accurate. So I will post immediately after we finish our call. So that's for for
And Sylvia, you will post them on the Facebook page. Is that what you said? You will
On-
post them on the
yes,
Facebook.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. I just need to see I will open the group, and I will post this call and our last call on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Is that okay? Or do you want
Yeah.
me to email those links to you? How would you want this?
Whatever's
Well, if we
easy. Facebook is fine.
whatever's easiest, yeah. I mean, as long as I know where to find them.
Okay. Okay.
And if I can't find it, I'll email you and let you know.
Perfect. So leave it with me. I do it. I have to download it first, put it on YouTube. So it will be so much easier. You just click on it and you will have it.
Yeah.
So I have homework to do as well. Great. Great. I actually know what I actually do put this off because I will forget. So do you have any questions? Would you like me to cover anything else?
No,
No. It's okay.
no. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Likewise. Yeah. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Well done. Well done. Both of you.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, keep up
More
the work.
stories.
And
Lots of boundaries going into place.
Thank you, Sylvia.
thank you so
Sandy.
much, Colin. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
thank
Sandy.
you. Yeah, it's been really informative.
Have a
Thank you.
lovely evening. Come.
Thanks.
And tonight, try not to do anything else. Like just
No, I'm tired.
yes.
Have a cup of tea with us.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
And
lovely.
I'm going to
That's
dig
lovely.
out my hot water bottle.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll
I
go-
love that.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
ladies.
Thank
Yeah,
you
good
so
night.
much.
Thank you so much.
you.
Have a lovely
Thank you.
week. Bye.
Yes, you
Bye.
too. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.